Hello, welcome to the Union Pacific Railroad Geneva Subdivision. My name is Darrell Cruz, owner and builder of the layout, and your host for episode 11 of season 2020. This is another operations video. It's actually part 2 of a 2-part series on Autorack train AMIGB, which is one that originates in Milpitas, California. That's the MI, and terminates in the Gibson Yard in Hammond, Indiana. Part 1 showed the train going from the west staging yards and entering the layout at Clinton, going across the Mississippi River, going through Franklin Grove, past Global 3, through Rochelle, Illinois, Wheaton, Illinois, Elmhurst, and then finally here at Proviso. As it arrived at Proviso, there was a manifest train waiting for it. And so as we begin part 2, we start with the manifest train finally taking the main line and heading west on the Geneva Subdivision. If you haven't yet, you might want to make sure that you see part 1. It was posted on Sunday. So I would definitely suggest that you check out part 1 and then come back and see part 2. This manifest train is going from the arrival departure lead track, crossing over once to get to track 1 of the main line. And since it's a left-hand running railroad, it's crossing over a second time to get to track 2 as it continues its trip across the Geneva Subdivision. Right now, with the manifest train out, we will uncouple the Union Pacific locomotives from the Autorack train that has arrived. This train, as I said, goes all the way to Hammond, Indiana. But since the Union Pacific Railroad does not go into Indiana, it terminates in Chicago. This train will continue its journey headed up by Norfolk Southern engines. So we're going to have the Union Pacific locomotives cut off, and they'll head to the engine facilities here at Proviso. And then a couple of Norfolk Southern locomotives will couple up to the train and then continue the rest of the trip eastward towards Hammond, Indiana, and the Gibson Yard. Now, as you can see at this particular operation, the locomotives are temporarily heading onto the main line, and then as they head back to the locomotive facilities, they will cross over back onto the Proviso yard. If I had to do this section over again, I would put in a crossover from the arrival departure track there and cross straight over. There is space there to put 2 crossover turnouts, and then it would be able to stay in the yard. Not sure if I'll ever do that, but at some point in time I might. Alright, so we go ahead and throw the crossover here, and the Union Pacific locomotives can then head back into Proviso Yard and head towards the engine facilities. These 2 locomotives are from Cotto and Scale Trains. The lead unit is by Scale Trains, which is the second one here. So 6463 there is a Cotto unit, it's the AC 4400. I actually hand painted that locomotive. The 9587, which was the lead locomotive, is a Scale Trains operator's model. It's a C44-9. Both of them are outstanding locomotives. So they are taking a track and heading back to the engine facilities, which is on the other end of the Proviso yard facilities. If you look in the distance, you can see a couple of Norfolk Southern locomotives in the holding track. And they'll head onto the main line and come forward and go through the control point so that they can then back up and couple onto the Autorack train. These two locomotives are SD70 ACEs by Fox Valley. These are very nice locomotives, run extremely well and are very well detailed. One thing I like about the scale trains and the Fox Valley is that they have the stairs safety stripes painted, which the Catos do not. Scale trains also have the added feature of having the ditch lights turned on separately from the headlight. But the Norfolk Southern locomotives have pulled through the control point, and now they're going to be able to back up and couple on to the Autorack train. A control point is a set of switches that are controlled by signals on both ends of the control point. So you have some signals here on one end of the control point, and if you look in the distance you can see another set of signals, and those signals are controlling all the turnouts that are in between the signals, and that whole area is called a control point. Alright, so the locomotives are gently coupling onto the Autorack train. And now we'll have some time to air up the air brakes, which is probably good because it has to wait for a metro train that's heading through. Now it looks like this is going backwards, but actually the conductor is in the back of that train and is actually running this locomotive, this whole set. So the conductor is not actually in the locomotives, he's in that first car that came through. And he controls the metro trains as it goes through. All metro trains are set up so that the locomotives face away from Chicago. So now with the metro train clear and the main line clear, the Norfolk Southern train is able to slowly pull out of the yard and head on to the main line. These are Norfolk Southern engines, and the first one is a heritage unit. As you can see, it says Penn Central. It's probably one of the less interesting heritage units. Basically is the same paint scheme with Penn Central on the sides instead of Norfolk Southern. Again, this is a left-hand running railroad, so it stays on track 1 as it heads out eastbound towards Chicago and eventually Hammond, Indiana. As it moves eastward, the first city east of Proviso is Maywood. Not a lot of work completed in Maywood, so it's a good spot to meet an opposing train here. Here it meets a westbound manifest train. There will be a metro station here in Maywood, and then there will be some building flats and a road, a couple of roads. From Maywood, we cross the Des Plaines River. And then we head into the forest preserves on our way to River Forest. Now you may be wondering why we don't have a Union Pacific locomotive heading this train. There always is a Union Pacific locomotive heading a train west of Proviso. But east of Proviso, I'm pretty sure that they do not have to have one, because when I was in River Forest, this is what I saw. A couple of Norfolk Southern trains pulling through the metro station at River Forest. So on the Geneva sub between Proviso and downtown Chicago, basically, when you have not only Union Pacific trains running, but you also have the Metra trains running, and then as you can see here, you can also have Norfolk Southern trains running. So I think the cab signal that is used by Union Pacific on the Geneva sub probably doesn't start until after Proviso. Alright, here we are back on the layout. And we're heading through River Forest. River Forest is the last model portion of the layout, so we'll head into the staging yards from here. There you can see the staging yards. All those tracks there represents all the different yards and places east of River Forest, and lots of yards in Chicago and Indiana and so forth. So that brings us to the end of the run for the AMIGB. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to always enjoy the greatest hobby in the world, model trains, especially in N scale. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.